Hello everyone. In this video, I'll be teaching you how to solve rational inequalities. Here I have 5 steps that you can follow. First step is to write your inequality into standard form. Second, determine your meaningful numbers. When determining your meaningful numbers, just find the zeros of the numerator and the denominator. Third, use the meaningful numbers to determine the intervals. The meaningful numbers will tell you how many intervals are there. Fourth, get test values from the intervals to check if that interval is part of the solution. 5. Express your answers in interval notation. First example, solve x plus 2 all over x minus 3 less than or equal to 0. Our first step, which is to write the inequality into standard form. Our given is already in standard form. The rational inequality or the rational expression is written in the left side while 0 will be in the right side. Next step is to get the meaningful numbers. So p of x will represent the numerator, which is x plus 2. Equate x plus 2 by 0. We get x plus 2 equal to 0, therefore the value of x is negative 2. Negative 2 is our first meaningful number. Now, we test negative 2 if it's also a part of the solution by using the rational inequality. Substitute negative 2 for x. So we get negative 2 plus 2 all over negative 2 minus 3, that is equal to 0 over negative 5. 0 over negative 5 is equal to 0. 0, which is less than equal to 0, is a true statement. The value of this rational expression is 0. Copy less than or equal to 0, true statement, meaning to say negative 2 is part of the solution. The next is to get the 0 of the denominator, which is represented by q of x. So that is x minus 3. X minus 3 equal to 0 will be turned into x equal to 3, positive 3. Now we test if 3 is part of the solution by substituting 3 to the value of x in the rational inequality. So we have 3 plus 2 all over 3 minus 3, that is equal to 5 over 0. And 5 over 0 is undefined. And undefined is not less than or equal to 0, so it is a false statement. Therefore, 3 is not part of the solution. So we have two meaningful numbers. And these two meaningful numbers will tell how many intervals are there. Okay, since there are two, meaning to say there will be 3 intervals. So the next step is to separate the number line into intervals. So we use negative 2 and 3 from our meaningful numbers. These meaningful numbers will divide the number line into 3, meaning to say 3 intervals. 1 is the values of x wherein it is less than negative 2. Next is the values which are between 3 and negative 2. The other is greater than 3. All numbers greater than 3. So 1, 2, 3 intervals. After determining the intervals, we're going to solve the test values from each interval using the inequality given, x plus 2 over x minus 3 less than or equal to 0. Okay, so here are the 3 intervals. We choose one value from each interval. So for the first interval, which is x less than negative 2, I'm going to test negative 3. I can use negative 4 and below, but I prefer to use negative 3 since it's more easier to solve. So using the inequality, I'll substitute negative 3 to value of x. I get negative 3 plus 2 over negative 3 minus 3 less than or equal to 0. Simplify, I got negative 1 over 6. Since there are two negative signs here, that will become 1 over 6. And 1 over 6 is not equal to 0. So therefore, this statement is false. If the statement is false, then this interval is not part of the solution. The next interval is x less than 3 but greater than negative 2. I'm going to test 0. I may use the other numbers like 1, 2, negative 1, but I prefer to use 0. So I have 0 plus 3 over 0 minus 3. I got 3 over negative 3, that is equal to negative 1. Negative 1 less than or equal to 0 is a true statement, meaning to say that this interval is part of the solution. And the last interval, which is x greater than 3, I'm going to test 4. I may use 5 or greater, but I prefer to use 4. It depends what number you like to use, as long as it is greater than 3. Substitute 4 plus 3 over 4 minus 3 less than or equal to 0. Simplify, I got 7 over 1, which is equal to 7. And 7 is not less than or equal to 0. It is a false statement. Therefore, this interval is not part of the solution. After determining the intervals which are part of the solution, we proceed to the last step, which is to give our answers in interval notation. Now, I have here an illustration, the number line containing the two meaningful numbers, negative 2 and positive 3. We determined that negative 2 is part of the solution. So I'm going to shade this part, meaning to say it's part of the solution. The other meaningful number is positive 3. And positive 3 is not part of the solution. I'm not going to shade this part. So there is only one interval a while ago that is part of the solution, and that is less than 3 but greater than negative 2. So in this interval, I'm going to shade it to show that it is part of the solution. Greater than 3 and less than negative 2 are not part of the solution. So in our answer, I'll be using negative 2 and 3. Bracket because negative 2 is part of the solution and it is the end of our solution for this side, the negative side. And for the positive side, our solution will end up less than 3. I'll be using the close parenthesis because 3 is not part of the solution, but the solution is less than 3.